Well, okay, my friends, as you know, I have some people that I've been talking with in Russia, just the population. I'm not into any of this political nonsense, but they're heavily into the mud fossils, and they see the things I see. They have a whole different culture than the USA. They have a tradition that goes way back, and they believe in a lot of things that we just absolutely ridiculous things that we think are crazy. And I always thought so too, but now I do not think so much. He just sent me this, my friend Andre, who's a Russian guy, and he's trying to interface me into the Russian population because there's a gap between, I can't speak Russian, he speaks both. Now, he sent me this from Praveen, Praveen, and it's about statues and demons. Do they have holes in their bodies? All right. And he's saying he thinks they might have had some kind of liver surgery, sticking their fingers up into that. Now, I am going to show you what I see, and I'm going to tell you right now, I see no possibility that this is just a statue. This, my friends, I am almost 100% certain, was at one time the creature that it is here, and it became solidified into part of the natural landscape. And Ovid did go on to articulate that they did these things just for fun, to make them, lawn statues and kinds of things like that. They would solidify things. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, if it's solidified and if it's true. And I think it's true. There's no way in the world that this could have eroded to create these. It's got a belly button. It's got a linea alba. It's got intestines. These are the things that Praveen sort of missed. He's looking at that hole, that's good. But the rest of the stuff is fabulous. Let's take a look. Okay, my friend, another shocker du jour supreme. I have read a lot of the old texts, and one of them is Ovid and Hesiod and Apollodorus, and they are some of the most bizarre, crazy sounding texts you've ever heard. But Ovid wrote 12,000 lines of text, starting from the beginning of what was known about our universe. And the first 2 lines in his epic work were these. Hold on. All right, let me just quickly tell you about Ovid. He wrote this right about the time of Julius Caesar, 8 Common Era, so about the year 8. His name was Ovid, O-V-I-D, and he wrote the most extensive work. There was 11,995 lines, 15 books. He covered over 250 myths that say, of all the stories, they call them myths. Now, they call them myths now. Back then, it just means they were the stories of the past. Now, what this epic work, this was as well known as the Bible at this time. Now, he goes from the earliest, the creation, the ages of mankind, all right, the flood, which was the great, great flood, Deucalion, who was Noah, Pyrrha, who was his wife, and then he goes down through all of these different books. There's 15 books, and they're all the gods, Hercules and Perseus, Andromeda, the Muses, Zeus, all of them, the whole 9 yards, right down the line. And the Minotaurs, and everything that we just laughed at, the whole 9 yards we laughed at, and all the way up to Julius Caesar. Now, how did he start his book? Well, this is lines 1 and 2 of book 1, right at the first 2 lines. What does he say? This is the most important thing you could ever read. Metamorphosis, or transformation, is a unifying theme amongst the episodes of the Metamorphosis. 15 books. This is the unifier. This is what they all are based around. Ovid raises its significance explicitly in the opening lines of the poem, which is his entire work. in nova fert animus mutatus dicere formos corpora. Well, what does that mean? In quotations, it means, I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. Accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation, who changes and becomes part of the natural landscape. The mud fossils. The theme amalgamates, and then they go on, and they sort of fluff it up from there like, oh, this isn't real, he's just kidding around. He's saying, no. And he's talking about the different types of transformations. You want to hear what they could do to transform? All right, listen to this now. This is how we handle it in the age of enlightenment. He wrote back at Julius Caesar's time that he intended to speak about forms that were changed into new entities using violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation became the natural landscape. Now listen down here. There is a great variety among the types of transformations that take place. These were gods. They could transform themselves. They had control of the molecules. They could transform themselves from human to an inanimate object, like statues, which we're going to see in a minute, or we have seen already. So they could transfer themselves into statues, or into objects, or into constellations, or into animals, or into plants, or into ants, or into funguses and mushrooms, or mushrooms into humans, from one sex to another, from one color to another. The metamorphoses themselves were often, now here's what we come on and say, oh, well, he wasn't really meaning that they could actually do that. Oh, it's metatextual in a poem, grammatical narrative, and da-da-da-da-da, humor, absurdity. No, he's talking about the truth. And when he said they could transform themselves into inanimate objects, let's take a look at a couple of sculptures. Statues, they would call them. Okay, my friends. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but Russians seem to be into my work, and they've been sending me a whole bunch of stuff, and I got a couple of Russian buddies that seem to be heavily invested in this. And apparently in Russia it's taken off. Well, all right, I just took some screenshots from Praveen's little shorty there. They have normal feet. All right, they have 5 toes, and it's a standard looking foot. And then it comes up his leg. This guy's holding some guy's little head there. His scrotum and his penis look pretty normal. They're not normal, but this is exactly what you would expect to see. Blood will puddle down where it can drain, and that's the sign of blood draining into the scrotum and the penis. Now, the other thing is this little line right here. This is the linea alba. All right, that's the hole Praveen's talking about. Now, you see the bones of the chest here? Whether that eroded away or that was the way it was normal for him, I don't know. But that's basically the same as what you're going to see on a bone here. You see, that's like I put a little water on. Oops. That thing's been laying around and being scrubbed against for hundreds of years. This is basically the same thing. Now, when I saw him put his finger up in there, you could see the fibers in there, which are the same fibers that are in all fascia. And I could see when he was putting his finger up in there, as I will show you in a second, I could see the fascia around there. So I'm literally 100% sure these things were real. And I'll show you the other shot. Now, this is the one guy. The other guy doesn't have any scrotum or penis there. It's eroded away, but it's eroded back inside to where I'm going to show you his actual umbilical cord attachment. I'm not kidding you. All right, prepare shocker du jour supreme. Examined. Yes, that's what we're going to do. And again, this is Praveen Mohan. And this is the legs coming up. Now, there's his chest cavity. That's his intestine. I believe that's basically his intestines right in there. This is broken open, obviously. So as far as I'm concerned, this would have been inside of his stomach area. This really is his belly button. I'm almost absolutely certain of it. And I believe this is his guts. And that's the linea alba right there. And that goes right up to the chest line. And it follows right up, straight up the chest. And again, I think these are bones. When I'm looking at them, I look at them as best I can see them from this. I would go with bones. I would go with bones. Now, he stuck his finger up in this one or the other one. But look at this. That's his good. That's his abdomen. It looks like to me. Because here now he's starting right down where his butt would be, right here. That's his buttocks area here. And there's looks like to me. I don't know. I could be wrong. I have been many times in the past. Hold on one second. All right, so this is the hole right around here. And Praveen came up and he stuck his finger up in there. But this is what it looks like. This is the fascia that coats things. All of this little white fabric is the coating that's in all the fascia, all of it. Now, it's very easy to see. And it even looks a little bit fuzzy, like it's been eroded away. Normally it's a kind of strappy and they don't erode much, but somebody's probably been poking around in there for 1,000 years or something, because it looks like it's a little torn up a little bit. Like I show pictures of my belt, and they have straps. You can't even tell they're straps. They're just like, well, you can see they're straps. But then the other one's all fuzzed up where the loop goes through and it gets all fuzzy. That's what you're seeing here. These up in here aren't as fuzzy because people must have been sticking their hands in there over the course of time. It looks like to me. But I'm as far as I can see, there's no way that this could not be real. Now, I gotta admit, this is the most bizarre looking thing you can possibly imagine. But don't forget, they claimed all of these things were real and demons and crazy, crazy things. And all of the Apollodorus, you want to read Apollodorus, it'll blow your mind. But you look at Typhon, he was real. He's in the desert. The gigantic fish, which I guess is Pisces, he's there. Atlantis is where it's supposed to be. Quetzalcoatl is there. Scorpzilla, we got everything going on. It was all reality. It's crazy, but it's true. And Ovid said they did this for fun. They did it just to make statues for whatever. And this goes back into the Egyptian times. I'm going to show you an Egyptian statue that has a guy in it, and it's, I don't know, it was like 20 feet tall or something. I'm not sure the height of it. It was much bigger than a human being. Hold on. But don't forget, if you look at this close, I mean, it's bizarre as hell. But that's what the Ovid said. He said they could do it. They could do it anytime they wanted. They could turn it into anything they wanted. And they did it just for fun to, decorate their palaces, basically, with means of violence, turning them into the natural landscape. Some of them were mountains because they were huge. Some of them were just decorations. Now you see this? This was from Brian Forrester's video. He's over in Egypt somewhere, and this thing's big. I would say the guy had to be, I would say 20 feet or so. I can't remember, to be perfectly honest with you, but that's the guy's lung. These are his ribs, and he was in, like he said, the very strange weathering. Well, half of his chest fell off. That's all that is, and they were in a ton of things. This was coated with plaster, and it looked just like a statue. The rest of it, and it had all these little hieroglyphs embedded in the clay that covered the whole body, but the whole body was inside of this clay statue. All right, you see these bones? I'm almost 100% sure they're bones, because that's what happens to bones when they're in the flesh, like mud fossils. That was in the flesh. Somehow this stuff must have eroded off of there. That's all I can think. Because there's a lot of stuff missing if it was a full-size creature when it was alive. if if it was alive. I'm just saying, there's stuff missing. So, but there's still some stuff here, like his scrotum, his penis is still there. That's crazy. But the guts have fallen out. It looks like this one. The other one, all that stuff fell out, and he has a crater in there with the guts inside. So this guy's got to still be his belly or something. I don't know. You'd really have to do a real close investigation of this. And Mohammed Praveen, he's going around to these places. I would love to engage with him. I've tried to hook up with him, but I never got any response. But I certainly would enjoy it, to have him look at something in maybe a little different way than he's doing it now. I'm not capable of going to the places he goes to, and he seems to be very, very engaged in trying to understand these things, and that's what I do. So who knows? But Praveen, I'm here, brother. You wanted to talk? Let's talk. Okay, I'd like to know the story behind these things, what they claim they are and where they came from, but I'm going to tell you right now, I have no reason not to believe this is real. You see how these are black here, the hands? When blood runs down into something, which it will, and collects into soft tissues, it turns black like that. And these are the tips of your hands. They run down to the end and they're stuck there. They may even have some holes in there. I think I saw somewhere where I could see, well, that's maybe another spot, but don't worry about that. I believe that's this guy's belly button in the linea alba. What that hole is for, I don't know. He talks about liver surgery. Now, I don't know. Those are not obviously humans. So there could be a whole vast variety of reasons for that hole. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to speculate. But I can tell you one thing. This certainly fits the bill for being a living creature at one time. That's exactly what would happen to the bones. Exactly. And this is exactly what would happen to where the blood ran down. Exactly. I certify this as being real, unless somebody can prove it isn't. And I know you could prove it is if you got up there and looked at it close. That's my opinion.